Hi everyone, this is Andy Neal and this is a motion quick tip. Today I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can retime a clip in motion. So first grab a clip and drop it into your layers pane. I've just got this clip of a couple of people walking across the street and I don't need the whole clip, so I'm just going to go to about here and mark an out point for my range by using Command Option O. That sets the end of my play range. As I said, there are two different ways to retime a clip. The first and easiest is to use a retiming behavior. Now the retiming behaviors are great, but they don't offer you a lot of control, so if you need more control you'll have to use the second method. Go to Add Behavior, Retiming, Set Speed. Now just like every other behavior, the set speed behavior is applied to the entire clip, which we don't need. So let's scroll forward a little bit and hit I on my keyboard to set the in point for the behavior. And I'll scrub forward a little bit and set O for an out point. So what it should do now is go normal speed till it gets to the behavior, then slow down and ramp back up to normal speed. If you go to the inspector, the behavior parameters, the speed is default set to 50%. These parameters below it control how fast or slow it slows down to get to that 50%. If you want to make it take a little bit longer to get to 50%, you can adjust these ease in time. So let's crank this up to about 30. And the ease in curves, crank these up to 100. You get a much smoother slow-mo here. And in fact, let's increase the length of this slow-mo portion here by just clicking on the end here and dragging it to increase its length. And then we'll drag the end play range as well. So there we go, nice slow to 50%, then ramp up back to 100. 50% looks pretty good and pretty smooth, but let's crank it down even further. Let's go down to about 20%. And this is where, standard slow-mo will tend to break down a little bit. You see there's a little bit of a jerkiness in the slow motion portion of the clip, but that can be solved with frame blending. Go to the Properties tab and twirl open the timing section, which will reveal all the timing parameters available to you. Down near here at the bottom is the frame blending, and click on the drop down and you'll have four possible options. None, which is the default, blending, which is similar to Final Cut Pro's blending mode, motion blur blending, which is a little bit more intuitive, and then finally optical flow, which is the Cadillac of slow-mo blend modes. Select optical flow and you'll see that nothing's really changed at this point. That's because optical flow needs to analyze the entire clip before it can calculate the proper slow motion. So hit stop for a second and you'll notice that there's a little timing disc here. This is to let you know that optical flow is currently analyzing this clip. If you double click it, it'll show you how long it's going to take for it to finish analyzing it. Now you can continue to work while it does it, but you won't be able to see the results until it's finished. What I think I'll do is I'll just fast forward to the point where the optical flow is finished analyzing the clip, and we'll pick it up from there. Okay, now that the optical flow analysis has been completed, let's play it and see how the slow motion looks. It's a much smoother slow motion. Okay, so that's one method for retiming a clip. But what if you need to do more than just slow it down or speed it up? That's when you need to use variable speed. So first I'm going to deselect the set speed in the layers pane. So that essentially turns off that behavior. So I'm left with the clip that I started with again. Then with it selected, go to the Properties tab, down to the timing pane, and change the time remap from constant speed to variable speed. Now unfortunately, this is one of the few instances that causes motion to reanalyze a clip for use with optical flow. So again, it's going to take some time for it to finish, but like I said, we can work without it and just view the final once it's finished doing its analysis. So once we've changed it to variable speed, hit Apple 8 is the shortcut for the keyframe editor, and you'll see it's right here. You'll see a line with a keyframe on either end. There's one there and there's one there, and these keyframes indicate the very beginning of this clip and the very end of this clip. And if we scrub through, you'll see this line is representative of the clip moving at normal speed. So to make changes to the timing of this clip, we simply need to make keyframes in this line and then adjust them. This is very similar to how Final Cut Pro's retiming works, although it may be a little bit easier to use because graphically it's easier to see than in Final Cut Pro's retiming pane. And also you can lasso keyframes, which is something you can't do in Final Cut. Let's move forward a little bit. Let's move forward to about this point here, and we'll add a keyframe right here. Just hold down the Option key and click the animation menu to set a keyframe, and then we'll move to about here and we'll set another keyframe, and let's scroll down a little bit further, set another keyframe, and there we go. Now let's set one more keyframe. How about right here? Okay, and I'm going to just drag out our play range a little bit as well. Okay, so now I have a bunch of keyframes in our timeline. Okay, so let's start by creating our first slow-mo. Okay, from this point to this point, we want the clip to be moving at normal speed, so we don't make any changes between these two keyframes. Now, between here and here, we want to have a general slow motion. So I need to move this keyframe down. But if I move just this keyframe down, what ends up happening is I do get my slow-mo. If I play through, you'll see I do get my slow-mo right there. But as soon as it reaches this keyframe, it speeds up to catch up to this point here, where it then moves at normal speed again. So I'm going to hit undo to show you if you want to alter the timing but you don't want it to speed up afterwards, then you have to basically drag all these keyframes down at the same time. So I'm just going to click and drag to lasso all these keyframes, and then if I click and drop down, you see now I have my slow-mo, and then it's going to pick up and just go normal speed again. Okay, now there's my first part of my retiming. I just got a slow-mo here. Now from here to here I want it to be a freeze frame, so I'm going to lasso the last three here, and I'm going to drag this down till it's pretty much close to being flat. It may not be exact, but don't worry, it doesn't have to be exact. Let's see, let's go slow-mo, and it's not quite exact because you can still see there's movement happening between these two frames. So all you have to do is place the playhead on this first keyframe here, select this keyframe, and hit Command C to copy it. Then when I hit Command V, it'll paste the properties of this keyframe to this keyframe. It's normal to here, slows down at this point, freezes, and then moves at normal speed afterwards. If I want to adjust how quickly it goes from normal speed to slow-mo, I can simply use Bezier handles on my keyframes or apply some other interpolation. If I click on this keyframe, right click on this keyframe, and choose Bezier from the drop down menu, you will see I now have a Bezier curve for the slowdown. So it goes normal speed and then it starts to slow down, and this one has a little Bezier curve here, and I can adjust that if I want, and then it goes still. And then from this point on, I'll select and right click again, choose interpolation, and I'll use ease out. And what ease out does is it means as the motion leaves this keyframe, it will slowly ramp up to full speed. So it'll be slowly back to normal speed. And there you go. Just hit Apple 8 to hide the keyframe editor. You'll see that this has finished its optical flow analysis. So I can just play through and get that nice slow optical flow. And you can even use this, hit Apple 8 once more to go back to the keyframe editor. You can even use this to make a clip go in reverse, simply by dragging the angle so that it's heading down instead of up. So if I play this right here, you'll see the clip backs up a little bit before going forward again. So this gives you a lot of control, but it's a little bit more difficult to understand, whereas the set speed behavior is very simple and easy to use, but doesn't give you as much control. I'm Andy Neal, and this has been a Motion Quick Tip.